On this episode, I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing my friend Kyle Miller. He helps survivors of narcissistic abuse to reclaim their independence, manage their minds, and fully heal through deeply intuitive, personalized, and judgment-free coaching. You're not going to want to miss this conversation. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Abounding and Alive. This is a new podcast, well, kind of a reimagination of an old podcast. My Two Girls Without Cancer series is morphing, evolving into Abounding and Alive. Now, the reason I went with this name is because my business is called Abounding Health. You can check me out at aboundinghealth.ca, just a little plug there. But I wanted to keep in line with what I do. So my job is blood analysis. I look at people's blood under the microscope and I try to help them through a holistic viewpoint. Abounding and Alive aims to be that as well. If you've ever watched Two Girls Without Cancer, we were interviewing people in the holistic space that help people. Basically, if you're a person who helps, I want to talk to you. And it's going to be the exact same format here at Abounding and Alive. I want to talk to people who help others, who focus on holistic health. You're healing the entire body. You're not just focusing on the symptom. You're not just dealing with one thing. You are dealing with everything. Now, my guest and I today were actually just talking backstage about how holistic health is so important. You might have stuff from childhood that's causing you to have issues today. Man, if I could figure out what gave me cancer, what was the root cause? Maybe it was something from childhood. Maybe it was something from my past. Who knows? So anyways, that is going to be this show, Abounding and Alive. Stay tuned every week as I interview people in that healing space. So my guest today, I'm very excited about this. Him and I have been talking for a long time. Him and I actually co-host another show together. His name is Kyle, and he is a personal empowerment coach. Now, he focuses on narcissistic abuse recovery. So I know that's a lot to say, and I'm going to let him talk about it a little bit more. So please welcome Kyle Miller to our show.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for being here.
Really excited about this conversation.
Yeah. So just to give everybody a little bit of background. So Kyle and I are on a show called Going On Daily. It's run by Rhode Island Broadcasting. It is just a morning show. I don't really talk about it much. I never post it on my socials, not because I don't want to, just, I mean, who looks good at 8 a.m, Kyle? And who's like really firing on all cylinders at 8 a.m, right? No, that's silly. I'm just joking. But I'm trying to be a little more transparent with my life lately, even under Abounding Health. On all my social medias, I would blindly post stuff or anonymously post stuff, and no one really knew who it was. And a girlfriend of mine, she's big into social media, and she says, people want that connection. And so I'm trying to be a little more transparent in the things that I do, the ventures that I do. Part of it is the Two Girls Without Cancer podcast, but part of it should also be this new career. I was a purchasing manager in construction for 10 years. And I decided not to go back to that. And now I'm a blood analysis microscopist, whatever you want to call it. And it's like a total difference for a person who didn't even know if they were going to live. And so I'm just trying to be a little more transparent. That's basically what I'm getting at. So anyways, Kyle is on that show with me. I had put out the casting call for somebody to join our show. You know, Kyle responded right away and he's like, oh, I'm into narcissistic abuse recovery. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is, but it sounds awesome. Well, maybe not for the person, but from like a career standpoint, pretty cool. We need more people like you.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it was kind of it was a journey. It was a journey to go through. I've been studying personal development for nearly 20 years. So lots and lots, and I was spoiled. I was a truck driver for 16 years.
Wow.
And so I got to listen to a ridiculous amount of podcasts. And so I kind of roughly figure that I'm somewhere north of 30,000 plus hours of podcasts and audiobooks, plus YouTube and everything else. But yeah, just everything personal development.
All the PD your little heart could imagine.
Yeah, and still do, you know,
Yeah.
it's a every day I get up and put in the headphones and start an audiobook as I go make coffee. So
Wow.
so
Good for
that's
you. That
yeah.
is very like introspective. Like you know what you need. You
Hmm.
know, it's like a lot of people are very blind. We live in blind spots.
Hmm.
But it's like you know that you need that PD to get through what you're going through or
Hmm.
to progress or be a better coach or whatever. So I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, and that's it. It's such a weird thing because I literally gave up listening to music.
Oh
I
wow.
quit listening to music, and I listen to it now a lot
Mhm.
more than I have in the last almost 20 years. But I just quit listening to music completely and started listening to personal development. And so which is why I've learned so much. But
Mhm.
I'm kind of on the outskirts of being a little obsessive about things when I get into them. So
You know, it's I don't know, it's a habit basically,
mhm,
right? You've acquired this habit and
mhm.
now it's like you probably don't feel complete if you wake
Oh
up and it's like I don't get to listen to some sort of podcast today.
yeah,
You know, and I
yeah,
don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think obsessive in that sense is a bad thing.
mhm,
Personal growth is very important.
yeah, yeah, and it's a big deal. I mean, the only I would say the only thing which would be a negative in it is if we're using it to beat ourselves up, and,
Mm.
and
Mhm,
that
mhm.
is kind of a regular thing, I think, with a lot of people that study personal development. Well, why am I not changing?
And
Why
why
am I
am I
not
not
doing
like that?
better? If I know all of these things and I'm not doing them.
Mhm.
And it's probably the biggest criticism that I have of the whole personal development space is most of it is lacking the how-to part of all
Uh,
of those things. And and
yeah.
so
I understand that. I am such a dreamer. I have all these ideas. And I was working with an occupational therapist recently about this. And I'm like, I have all these ideas, I have all these plans of things I want to do. And I'm like, how do I do it? Like,
mm,
it's hard to, in my head, to take that leap, that step. And
mhm,
even I went to school to be a counselor before I had
mm,
kids, an addictions counselor. And part of it was this chart. And I can't even remember now, it was so many years ago, but there was 9 steps. And it was like, where do you fall on these 9 steps? Like a doer, a dreamer, whatever. I was always a dreamer, always had
mhm,
these big, grandiose ideas. But it's like, how to put that into action.
mhm. I love and I've thought about this a lot. I follow Dan Sullivan,
Mhm.
he's a strategic coach is his business,
Okay.
and he's incredible. And I remember one of the things he said I can do anything in the world at all that I want to do as
Mhm.
long as I don't have to do it. And and I was like, oh, that is so me. Um,
Right.
and I think that's, you know, with the really good coaches, and it doesn't mean that I don't have the capability of doing all kinds of things, because I do. I mean, I run my business and I'm the one man show,
Mhm.
but I am so much better at seeing all of the things in other people and helping them work through, because most everybody knows to some extent what it is they want to do or they
Mhm.
need to do or have to do in order to get, you know, whatever it is that they want. They
Mhm.
just don't know why they're not doing those things.
Yes. And then there's a piece of like shame that comes with that, or like
Oh.
beating yourself up. I'm like this a lot. I say to myself, oh, you've been off work for 2 years, sick, recovering. Why aren't you fit? Why isn't
Mhm,
your house more organized? Why don't you have money saved? And then
mhm.
I'm like, beat myself up about it. And I know I've talked about this with counselors, and they're like, it's not like you were on vacation, girl. Like, give
Yeah,
yourself
which
some credit.
so and I think that that's a huge, like, that whole piece right there is huge to look at,
Mhm.
because first of all of those thoughts are what that's where the shame is coming from.
Mhm.
Why am I not fit? Why is my
Mhm.
house not cleaned up? Like those are all statements which lead right into shame,
Mhm.
and judgment.
Yes.
And then I will criticize a little bit, you know, the response from the counselor is immediately, um, avoiding and diverting,
Mm.
dismissing in some ways the feelings that you have, which does not allow you
Interesting.
to move through them. And so yes, it's we can think of, okay, yes, you were on vacation, and we can go through all of that. But if we do not acknowledge the
Right.
way that you feel and work
Why
through
I'm
those
feeling
things
that.
first,
Hmm.
then it makes it very, very hard for you to let go of it, because what happens, especially when we have those emotions, they're charged. So anytime
Mhm.
anybody has been angry, that is a very charged emotion, and we can
Right.
see that one and understand it. Well, you can't let go of the anger while it's still charged. And so we
Mhm.
have to take the charge out of the emotion so that we can let go of it. And that's, one of the things they talk about. You hear it all the time, time heals all wounds. And
Mhm.
it is so not true.
I
There
was
is
gonna say, there's a
there
lot of
is
things I'm still holding on to.
Yeah, well, and there's some truth in it, but the way it works is time gives you space and distance from whatever it was that happened, which then allows for some of the charge to be taken out of
Right.
that emotion, which then sometimes accidentally, a happy accident, we can let go of some of those things.
Right.
But the problem is the only way we actually let go of things, healing using time, the only way that we actually let go of it is by accident. And
Mm.
so we don't actually work through it. So a lot of what I do is I help people to, because so much of society and everywhere else, it's like, nope, you change your thoughts, right? Just change your thoughts and then you change your life. And there's the missing part in here, which is, how do I do that?
Yeah. You've been raised with these thoughts. You've had, for me, 38 years of these thoughts. How do I all of a sudden just go, oh, okay, that's
Hmm.
it. I'm done. I'm better.
Yeah, yeah, and the first part is acknowledging,
Mm.
and the way that I think about thoughts and emotions, is the way that I the analogy I give anyway is if you think about a healthy parent, and we're going to say a healthy parent, not your parent or whoever, a healthy parent,
Mhm.
and the way that they deal with a toddler.
Mm.
And so a toddler, they fall down, they get hurt, they're upset, whatever it is, they're emotional in some way. And
Mhm.
so it doesn't mean that anything has necessarily actually gone wrong, but they're emotionally upset. And so
Mhm.
they come over to the healthy parent, and the healthy parent acknowledges their child, and they acknowledge that they're upset, they're angry, whatever it is, and then probably pull them up on their lap, give them a hug.
Mhm.
They don't try to fix them. They don't judge them. They don't shame them. They
Mhm.
don't think there's something wrong. They don't think they're broken. They don't do anything other than acknowledge the child and support them and allow them to go through that emotional experience that they're having.
Mm.
And they just hold that space with their child. And in a minute or two, then the child is like, you're like, got all the tears out, and they're like, okay, i'm gonna
They
i'm gonna go play again.
they feel
And then,
secure,
yeah, they
and
feel
then
secure.
they can go on.
Yep. And then they go run on, and they're happy as can be. And what we don't do as adults is deal with our thoughts and our emotions in
Mm.
that same way. We have judgments, we have shame, we dismiss them, we push them away and stuff them.
Mhm.
I don't have time to feel this right now.
And
I
that's
can't deal with this right now. Yeah. And so we don't get the acknowledgement of the way that we actually feel.
mm.
And that's one of the biggest first pieces of what we actually need, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it makes sense, to you, to anyone else. It doesn't matter if you know where the emotions are coming from, where the thoughts are coming from, what it's about. None of that matters. It
Right.
doesn't have to make sense, but it has to be acknowledged.
Mm.
If we don't acknowledge it, it's the first step of allowing those emotions, those thoughts to be there, which is a big part of the how to, which is missing in most all of personal development everywhere.
Well, I think for majority of us, especially people our age, we weren't raised with that acknowledgement. We weren't raised with that secure attachment when there is some sort of hurt, trauma, emotional thing that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like we got parents, get up, you're fine.
Yep.
Stop crying. I'll give you something to cry about. I heard you say that earlier today.
Yeah.
I'll give you something to cry about. Like, why? Because someone's crying. And I see people still do this, like the way that our parents raised. And I tell even my husband now, he doesn't have children of his own, but he's been stepdad for 8 years. And I even say to him, like, the way that you were raised in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, it does not work now. And he said, why? What's changed? Like, kids are way worse now. And I said, maybe to an extent, but like, it doesn't work to be shamed or called names or hit like that. That's because that was my upbringing. I also went into my own parenting of my children like that. And I found real quick, number one, it didn't work. Number two, it made me feel really guilty.
Yeah.
And then like to see my kids just like hurt that I would like want to hit them or like call them a name. And it's like, it changed pretty quickly on. And granted, I did have to do a lot of self-work to get to that place, because when you live in that blind spot, I mean, you don't know what you don't know, but it took a lot of like personal development, counseling, whatever, to go, oh, that actually really upsets me acting like that. And why do I do that? Oh, because, that's the way my parents taught me, and that's the way their parents taught them, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, at some point you need to end the generational stuff. Someone's got to do it. And so for me, I felt like it has to be me. Now, granted, I'm not like the world's best mom by any means. I have my moments, but like, what I don't do is hit my children. What I don't do is, get mad at them and call them names, because like, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think on the other side now, which I think the big crisis that we're having now, oh my gosh, all the kids are worse and they're doing, and all these things that we say or society or whatever. And I think one of the biggest things that's going on is we've auto-corrected to the other side of the spectrum.
Oh, for sure.
And it isn't necessarily a problem, but the big problem that I see is that everybody needs to be saved, and they're all broken. And so when the child falls down, they get hurt, they get upset, we need to fix them. We need to fix this. I need to console you, which is disempowering for the child, and it's controlling for the parent, even though they're not necessarily, I don't think people are, for the majority of people, they're not trying to do all of this. It's like, that didn't work. They're beating them and all of those things. Yeah.
It's like an innate thing that we have just from our raising, but also like trying to break out of that. It's like we've flipped 180 to the point where it's like, I don't want to feel the shame that I felt as a child, so much so that I'm going to go complete opposite of parenting. And I think that's what's fallen off here, is like, nobody really knows how to deal and regulate with those emotions. Like, you're allowed to feel stressed out. Like for me, it's that, here, have food. Oh, you're crying, here, have this snack. And it's just like, every time I'm emotional, even now, I think, oh, I got to eat something. Why? Because I was taught that. Yeah.
And it's a hard thing it is so uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. I mean, it's still uncomfortable for me. This is not a comfortable thing for me to just go, okay, I'm going to sit with this awful emotion. Woo. Okay. Yeah. No, it is not. So for everyone to understand, it just feels awful sometimes. And maybe a lot of times. And it feels worse in the beginning, which I think is one of the things that people don't realize. And talking about narcissism and abuse and all of those things, it seems like the relationship gets worse at the end of the relationship. And there is some truth in that, but I think what the bigger thing is we're aware of how bad things are.
Right.
And I think it's very much the same with us learning how to handle our emotions, how to process them, how to allow ourselves to feel. It feels much more awful when we actually allow ourselves to feel those emotions, because we're now aware. Okay, because without the awareness, you can't do any of that. So as you become aware that I'm having this emotion, I'm having this thought, you know it's there, and then you're allowing it to be there. So it's not just that the emotion is there, that the thought is there, it's that we're aware of it also, which makes it feel that much worse than what it felt like when we were stuffing it in the closet or in the
Right.
chest,
And
you know.
especially because we were taught to not sit with that emotion.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think it's any fault of our parents. Again, you don't know what you don't know. You're taught to just move along quick. You
Mhm.
can't sit on something, you'd be lazy, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Even
yeah.
like if you're going to be depressed, like that's lazy.
Yep.
You don't need to deal
Yep.
with your emotions. That's lazy.
Let's add some shame and judgment onto that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What is lazy anyway? I love that one. That's
Well,
like so
for
perfect.
me, like I was always on the go constantly. Like and I think quite honestly, if all my deep work I've done, I think I was trying to stay busy so I didn't have to face what I was feeling.
Yep.
I think that's what it was.
Yep.
And so I was always on the go, always busy. And then my body was like, "Oh, you need a break." I would have these inner battles. No, I don't need a break. I'm fine.
Mhm.
Well, my body decided for me that I needed a break, and I had to sit in that for a while. You have your first little bit of survivor mode, and then after that, you have the, oh gosh, I have to deal with everything that I've just gone through mode. And it's just like, why is this stuff from childhood coming up? Why is this stuff coming up from my first marriage? Like,
Mhm.
and it was like, all I'm trying to do is just heal from cancer. It's like so much stuff has just been buried. And it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible, Kyle. I did not want to deal. Like so many times I was like, I'm quitting counseling. I'm not going. I'm not going today. And every day I would go, I'm dreading this. Every time I
Mhm.
would wait for the counselor to come online. Like,
Mhm.
just don't show up today. Don't show up today. And but I
Mhm.
would do it and it would hurt and it would feel awful. And then it was like a little hump every time. And so it took
Mhm.
quite a few months of that horrible
Yeah.
hump when finally it was just like it was just like, oh, I think I've dealt with something. Now, granted, I think
Mhm.
personal development and progress is an ongoing battle.
Yeah.
And I think things that you've dealt with can still come back. You can still struggle with them. Trauma
Mhm.
lasts for a very long time, if not forever. Yeah, it's like when you work through that hard space, if you
Mhm.
sit with that for a while and actually do the work, eventually it's going to lighten. Feels
Yeah.
pretty good.
Well, and I think one of the things that, and I know a lot of people think that they're, oh, I'm regressing, I'm going
Mm,
backwards. I'm
yeah.
Because this thing that didn't used to bother me, I worked through that and it doesn't bother me anymore.
Right.
And then now all of a sudden it bothers me again.
Yes.
And I think the biggest aspect of that is awareness,
Hmm.
because awareness does not, you're not just aware of all the good things, you're aware of all the things. And
Hmm.
so the more we increase our awareness, the deeper we get into ourselves, our lives, all of the past experiences,
Hmm.
which I think that is where most of that comes from. When we've worked through something, we let go of it. But then as we gain more awareness, we gain more awareness of everything,
Hmm.
including that event. And so we let go of the part of it that we were aware of.
Right.
And then the other parts, which were still bothered us, still affected us, we haven't worked through those. So it's like, why is this coming back? Well, you didn't process the whole thing. You only processed the part that you were aware of.
Hmm.
And so I think that is probably the biggest aspect of, what feels like going backwards when we have these things come up again, but we're just aware of more of what actually happened and more of our emotions around it. And
Hmm.
and it's a positive. I think it's a wonderful thing when all of that comes out. It feels awful and it's not fun to work through, but it allows us greater peace in our lives, because whatever it is that comes out that's bothering you is affecting you.
Right.
And so when you work through it, we gain new levels of peace and joy
Hmm.
and all of the wonderful things. Um, and so, yeah, but anyway, that's what I think with a lot of that, which is
Hmm.
another thing that nobody talks about.
No, exactly. I try to say like in the odd time, let's say my husband and I argue or whatever. I'm not a confrontational person. I very
Mhm,
rarely argue, which comes with me repressing all how I actually feel. So I'm trying to be more authentic in that if I feel something, I want to talk about it. But I often will say, like, I'm entitled to that feeling. You might not agree with it. You
mm,
might think I'm crazy for saying
mhm,
it or feeling this way. However, it's mine. I own that
mhm,
and I'm
mhm.
entitled to it. And there is something very, I don't know, empowering in that statement for me anyway.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, I don't know, I didn't own that. Like I
Mhm.
just thought I was crazy for being crazy, right? Like, I mean, crazy is such a silly word to call somebody
Yeah.
when they're feeling something. Yeah, I'm acknowledging that it's okay that I have these feelings
Mhm.
based on circumstance, based on history, based on whatever.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. And
Yep.
it and to acknowledge it for me, again, like everyone's going to be different, but to acknowledge it
Mhm.
for me is very empowering.
Yeah. Yeah, which is and a lot of that is um it's helping you work through and heal
Totally.
the avoidance because it's a lot of this is exposure therapy and
Hmm.
so every time you don't avoid something then it helps you move a little more secure
Yeah.
and that's I was just thinking as you were talking about that you're just as entitled to be upset about me being upset as I am to be
Right.
upset
Because you're
about
entitled to
whatever.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Because you own that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But then it's like if you're
Yeah.
both entitled and feel like you own that and like where do you meet in the middle? So I mean,
Mhm.
relationships are complex.
Super, super,
Super.
and it will bring up all of the things.
Yes, it will. It absolutely will. I'm hoping that you and I can do a part 2 of this
Yeah.
episode where you and I can talk more about narcissism
Mhm.
itself. I mean, you
Yeah.
and I have talked about this lots just being on the other podcast. But
Mhm.
for our listeners, like I would love for people to get into or get to hear about
Mhm.
narcissistic abuse and recovery and what that looks like because I think a lot of people actually experience it and don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, ditto. I mean, me too. I didn't know all the studying that I did, and I didn't know anything about narcissism until about 6 months before my
Mm.
almost 14-year relationship was over. I
And it
was
probably hit you like a train. Like, when
oh,
you realized it was probably like, "Oh my gosh."
yeah, yeah. I mean, the first one was maybe I'm not the only problem in
Hmm.
this relationship,
You mean it's not me? Weird.
which I not that I was innocent, but
No.
I thought that I was the only problem. So
It's hard
yeah,
on the self-esteem. It's hard on your self-worth, that's for sure.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I love to do a part two and talk about all of the other things and narcissism and down that rabbit hole.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, we got more into just, like, personal development
Hmm.
and attachment communication, but I would also love to learn more next time about
Hmm.
attachment styles too, because that's
Yeah.
another thing. It's really eye-opening when you learn, "Oh, hey, maybe I'm, like, I have insecure attachment. Maybe
Hmm.
I'm avoidant," you know? It's
Yeah.
like, and not that I wanna put labels on everything, but it's nice to know that I'm not alone in some of the things that I'm
Mhm.
feeling as well. Or it's
Well,
like, I'm this way because of this.
and I think with narcissism, with attachment, with all of those things, I think that it is incredibly helpful until it is no longer helpful.
Mhm.
And that's if all you're doing is studying about
For
narcissism or
sure.
attachment or all those things, it's super helpful until you're using that to avoid growing into the person that you want to be.
It's funny, I actually feel like that's what's happening in society right now.
Mm.
I have this, therefore this. It's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
you might
Yep.
just actually be just like a weird person, like, or you might just be like, have some trauma. Like, you don't have to be this,
Yep.
and then therefore you don't do this.
Yep.
You might just be unresolved.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like insecure attachment, just because you're avoidant does not mean that you can't earn your own security. And,
Totally.
which is possible for everyone.
Yeah.
And no matter what is going on, we can work to better ourselves.
Well, I think everything is fixable to me.
Yep. I
I'm a
agree.
serial optimist, but
Yeah.
even with health, if we're
Yep.
talking health, I think
Yep.
majority of everything, no, let's say everything, I'm positive.
Yeah.
Everything is
Everything.
fixable. Given the
Yep.
proper tools, you may have put your body through some abuse and your brain, your heart through a
Mhm.
lot of abuse over the years, but like with the proper tools, it can learn to be better because your body, your brain, your spirit, it all wants to be better, knows how to be
Mhm.
better. It just needs the
Yeah.
proper tools to get you back there.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe a part 3 on all of the
Maybe
health.
a part 3.
Um,
Okay, I love it. We should
yeah.
absolutely do it. I could talk to
'Cause
you forever, so
yeah.
so why don't you let everybody know where they can find you?
Yeah, KyleMillerCoaching.com is the best place. You can schedule a call with me. You can get on my email list, and then you can find all my socials there. I'm basically Kyle Miller Coaching on all different social media. Pretty much anywhere that you would want to see me, I am.
Amazing.
So
So
yeah,
Kyle Miller Coaching,
yep.
find that. I will say, following your socials, Matt, this guy is dedicated to his craft. Okay. Like there is a post at least every day, if not more times a day, of something deep, something insightful. And I love that. Like you can tell you're just so passionate about what
Mhm.
you do.
I mean, that's where I'd say I'm eccentric. I mean, and which is a loving term that I have now. I
Yeah.
used it against myself for a long time, but I am very eccentric with this. I mean, just everything that I really decide that I'm going to go into, then I go down the rabbit hole and I
Mhm.
just learn everything that I can. And yeah, to be the best, which is another trauma thing also, or it was anyway.
To be
So
sufficient.
yeah,
I
yeah,
remember my kids,
to be enough.
when my kids were little, we were always raised with practice makes perfect. Well, they would
Hmm.
come home from school and say, Mom, practice makes progress.
Only perfect practice makes perfect.
Right.
So practice makes progress for sure. I agree with that.
Mhm. Mhm.
But perfect practice makes perfect,
Right.
or
I love
as
it.
close as we get.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. Thank you so much for being here. Again, we are going to do a part 2, maybe even a part 3. But make
Yeah.
sure you check out KyleMillerCoaching.com to get in touch and to book a session with Kyle. I think that would be so insightful for a lot of people.
Thank
Well,
you so much for having me on.
yes, I loved it. So that is it for episode 1. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Stay tuned. I probably will continue to post every Tuesday because that's what I was doing before, starting probably around early September. This is when this is going to come out. Check me out on all my socials at Abounding Health, either abounding.health or Abounding Health on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I'm even on LinkedIn. Not that I've ever posted on there, but of
Mm,
course on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, at Abounding and Alive. So thank you so much for being here, Kyle, and for everyone listening. And we will see you again.
thanks again.